Hi guys, it's Nez here. In the last video, John showed you how to install a theme onto your brand new WordPress blog. And in this video, we're going to take a quick look at the admin dashboard inside WordPress so you can understand how that works a little bit more. And we'll also be activating the plugins that also got installed when you created your brand new blog. So let's go and have a look. Okay, now obviously the first thing you need to do is log in to the admin for your WordPress site. And using Constructly, because that's how we installed our site, we can just go to the login button here, click on that, and that will automatically log us into the dashboard of our WordPress blog. Now, if you're not in Constructly for some reason, or if you're logging in outside of Constructly, another way you can do that is to go up to the domain name and type in your domain name /WP admin. And when you hit return on that, that will bring you to a login window like this. And from there, you just put in your username and password that you set up when you're creating the site. And you can click on Remember Me so it will remember it for you in the future. And we'll log in. And you can see we've arrived at exactly the same place. Now on the dashboard here, we've got a little welcome area here that shows you some basic settings and ways you can do things. Now I'm going to cover some of this, but it's going to be very general. So if you want to know more about WordPress, you can have a look here and check out some of the tips they've got for you, and we'll also put some support links on the challenge content page so you can check out more about WordPress. So first up, we'll have a look at the sidebar here. We're not going to have a look at plugins just yet, we're just going to have a look at the sidebar. And you can see when I hover over any of the items here, we've got a little drop down that shows up on the side there. Now interestingly, when you also click on posts there, you can see we've got exactly the same entries. So what we'll do for the rest of this video, I'll actually click on these links at the side so you can actually see everything at a glance. The dashboard we'll come back to. So we're looking at posts here. This is obviously where you make a blog post. And you can also set categories and tags. Media, as you upload images and movies to your blog post, they'll be in a gallery here, and you can choose for them and have a look at them. Pretty straightforward. There's a default group of links that is created when you install any blog. You can remove those if you're going to be using the link widget somewhere on your site, and I'll show you those widgets shortly. Pages is different to a blog post. You need to think of a blog post as like a diary entry, and a WordPress page is more of a permanent page on your site that you can put somewhere. You may or may not need to do that during the challenge, but it's an option you have. Comments. In comments, you'll see pending, approved, spam, and trash. So here is where you'll manage your comments. And there's a setting down here below I'll show you later on about comments. Appearance we'll come back to because it's an important one. Users, you'll probably only really have yourself inside the site. You've got your admin and your username and username and password there, and you'll likely be the only user. Tools we'll leave alone completely. And settings, you'll see we've got general, writing, reading, discussion, media, privacy, and permalinks. Now we won't go into too much details for those, but obviously the way you set up your site when you first got started will be represented here. All that stuff will carry through. Writing is about the way you write your posts, what the defaults are going to be for various things. Reading is the way people interact with your site, whether it's going to be a blog post, how many posts there'll be, or whether it will be a page as a static page, which we won't be doing for the challenge. Now discussion is where you set up your options for comments, and you can choose here the way you want to allow people to comment. Now WordPress can be targeted for spam a little bit, so it's probably a good idea to have a read through these options here and decide on your best approach. One of the things I quite like is to automatically close comments on an article after a set period of days. So even if you have some of the options set here where people can comment, you can actually lock that out at a certain time. So if somebody's trying to post spammy comments after a few weeks, it's not going to work because the post will be locked down. Media and privacy, they're just basically some settings on how your images show up. Privacy is to allow the site to be visible for the search engine, which is obviously important, so we want to leave that as allow. And permalinks we're not going to touch, we're going to leave that alone too because it's already set for you. Now appearance, we'll just have a quick look at appearance before we go on to plugins. And you'll see we've got our default theme installed here, which is what John was showing you on the previous video on how to install a new one. Now some of the options here will be available or not available depending on the theme you've gotten, but looking at this current default theme here, I can go and change the background here. I can put up an image or a color to change the look of the site, or I can also put in a header graphic that I want of my own choosing, or another one of the standards. So at the moment, if I just click over to the site itself, you'll see that the acorn is chosen as the default. Now if I wanted to change that, I could upload my own image, or I could check this lovely seaside image here, click on save. Just do a refresh on that. For some reason it didn't work. Try that again. Save. Okay, so there's our seaside image, and if I do a refresh, you'll see the header graphic is now changed to the ocean image. Back over here. Now I won't go through menus too much because we'll primarily be doing blog posts on the challenge site, so we don't need to cover that in much detail, but I will look at widgets just briefly. Now you can see in the sidebar here for the site, it's a pretty simple theme, and you've got a right hand sidebar there with a few options in place already, and you can see those options are represented here. Now depending on the theme you choose, some of these widget locations won't be available, so you need to be careful about that when you're actually placing things. So if you have a bunch of widgets in place and you change your theme and suddenly some of that makeup is not there anymore, you might lose some of the functionality of the website, so you need to be careful. So you can see here we've got meta. I'm just going to get rid of that one, and we're going to swap it out for links, which I was showing you before. Put that in there, save. Now when I go and refresh the page, the meta will disappear and you'll see the blog role show up instead. So I'll refresh. And there it is. So you've got your options for working with widgets. Now let's get on to our plugins. Now there's a default set of plugins that get installed when you create your blog using Constructly. However, those plugins are not active, so we need to activate them all. Now before we do that, we need to update some of them, and you can see here we've got all plugins, inactive plugins, updates available. Now they're all inactive, so all 17 are listed, but if I go over to update, that'll give us a nice look at the plugins that are ready to be updated. And what we're going to do here is cheat. We could do these one by one, but we're just going to click on this little link next to plugin there, and I'll go up to this drop down menu and click on update, and when I apply this, it's going to automatically update all of the plugins at once. So let's click on apply, and you can see all of the plugins are currently being updated, and yep, the process has already been finished. Now just before we activate the plugins, we're just going to go up to, see up here, we're in the little yellow bar, it says there's an update. We are going to update the site, and all we need to do to update WordPress completely is to click on this update now button, and the entire thing happens in seconds. It's incredibly easy compared to what it used to be. And every time you do update your WordPress site, you'll be presented with this page that gives you some information about what's been changed. So it's never a bad idea to take a few minutes to have a look at this, so you can see what updates have taken place and what things may have changed. And now we'll just go back to the plugins just briefly, and we need to go and activate them. Now, similarly as what we did for the update, we're going to be a bit naughty and activate all of them at once. That's not something we would necessarily do all the time, but this is a brand new blog, so there's no harm in breaking anything really, so I'm going to tick that. Same as before, go to activate. Now as soon as I click apply, these are all going to turn on, and we're going to see some notification windows pop up. Okay, so all the plugins are activated, and you can now see we've got some plugins that we need to put our attention to. Now before we do that, I'm just going to click on the settings link again, and you'll see that there is also now some more links here than there were before. Now these are all configuration pages for the various plugins, but what we're going to do first is cover the ones that are requiring our attention straight away. Now the first one here, get paid version of SEO friendly images, don't really need that, so we're going to hide that one straight away. So the first two things we're going to be quickly looking at is the Akismet plugin and the all-in-one SEO plugin. Now Akismet is an anti-spam plugin. It will help filter some of the spammy comments you might be getting to your site, and it's telling us we need to enter our API key. Now getting one is very, very simple. I'm not going to go into great detail with it, but all you really need to do is go to this link here. I'll open that up in a new tab, and you just need to follow the instructions here to get your API key. And once you've got that, you just paste your API key into this box here, click on the update options, and you're ready to go. So that's Akismet covered. For the all-in-one SEO plugin, you just need to quickly put a couple of options in there. Now there's ads at the beginning of this plugin options, so we'll just leave those alone, don't need to worry about them. And this is all we really need to do. We need to click enable, we need to put in the title of our website in here, we need to put in our description with our keyword phrase in there, and if we've got our theme and category keywords, we put those in here as comma separated as well, and we leave the rest of this alone and we click update options and we're ready to go. Now let's have a look at our other settings. Now some of these plugins don't actually go into the settings menu, they have their own menu here, and the first one I'm going to have a look at is Jetpack. So I'll just click on Jetpack. Now what you need to do to get Jetpack to work is to connect it to WordPress.com. So you need to create a WordPress.com account, which is pretty straightforward. We just follow this link here, open up a new window. Now we obviously don't have an account yet, so we're going to click on the need an account link, and we'll go through the motions of creating a username and password for ourselves. Now once we've actually done that, we can go back here and configure this plugin, and you can see there's quite a lot of valuable little tools that come with the plugin. One of the most important being the WordPress stats. You'll get similarly to what you'll get with Google Analytics. You'll get some stats from WordPress.com on your site that sit into your dashboard here. Now the next one is social metrics. This one you don't need to configure, but it's worth showing you. What actually happens with social metrics is once you're starting to get your site out there a little bit, you'll get an updated list of the interaction you've had with various social networks. That's very handy. And let's just go back down to plugins, to settings. Just a couple more things to do. Let's have a look at them. We don't need to do anything else with all-in-one SEO. Link Daemon does its own thing, so does PubSub Hub, so does SEO friendly images, I believe. Yes, it's all by itself. Now there's only two more we need to cover. TF social share, if I could speak correctly. Now, unless you've got a Twitter account, you don't need to configure this. You can play around with some of the cosmetic options if you like. But if you do have a Twitter account, or you've created one for whatever your market or micro niche is for this particular site, you can put that Twitter ID in there, and you can configure this to show up on your posts either above or below. And as I said, you can change the aesthetics a little bit. And the last little thing is Ultimate GA, which is Google Analytics. And if you've gotten yourself a Google Analytics account by now, you can put your ID in there, and once you've done that, your site is all good to go and set up for Google Analytics, so you can log in there and check on your site's traffic stats. So that pretty much covers this video. I know I rushed through the settings a little bit on the plugins, but it's all fairly straightforward. As long as you get your API key for Akismet, and as long as you get your WordPress account, they're the only external things you need to worry about. And once you've configured that, you're good to go. And if you need other help with the dashboard area of WordPress, there will be links available on the content page for this day. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, and I will talk to you later.